Mr. Speaker, last week I had a disabled constituent in my office who is being evicted at the end of this month. And she has nowhere to go because she can't find anything affordable. She was living in an affordable apartment, but she can't find anything on the market. She's had to go to her church. She had to go to her church to put her up in a motel until she can figure out what to do. Mr. Speaker, we are losing, by some accounts, 1,000 affordable units a year in this province. The waiting list for subsidized housing has shot up from 5,000 households to 7,000 households. Yet the Minister of Finance yesterday in his budget announced what? $6.3 million to increase affordable housing. He's got to be kidding. He's allocating so much money for a new jail, tens of millions of dollars in tax cuts. How many units, how many households will he take off the waiting list of 7,000 with that $6.3 million?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd be more than happy to answer that question. The Greens have taken an interesting tactic here today. And, Mr. Speaker, we've acknowledged some of the struggles that people have had here in the province of New Brunswick, and we are reacting to that. I think what the member opposite needs to look at is that over the last two budgets that this government has put forward, we've increased the housing allotment up by 20%. Mr. Speaker, to a total of $119 million. $119 million. And, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the investments that have been made right across the province, I've been to a number of different units. Actually, a number of my colleagues, we looked at the Rising Tide last building, which included 30 residents for a partnership with Crossroads for Women, which actually, again, is going to house people in a difficult situation. So, Mr. Speaker, I could go on and on about the number list. $119 million in this budget.
Member for Fredericton South and Leader of his party.
Mr. Speaker, this is a crisis in affordable housing. The last time we had a crisis in affordable housing, we had the New Brunswick Housing Corporation to lead the charge, and it did so effectively. But it was absorbed into government at the turn of the millennium, and we've gone backwards. Its purpose, in law, is to cause steps to be taken toward the construction or provision of more adequate and improved housing accommodation. But it hasn't done so in a substantive way for more than 2 decades. To think tax cuts will reverse declines in affordable housing is pure whimsy. Magical thinking, Mr. Speaker. There are cranes all over Fredericton going up every other month, building new housing. Not affordable. Unaffordable. Will the Premier extract the New Brunswick Housing Corporation from the Department of Social Development, staff it, and mandate it to lead the charge once again to grow the supply of affordable housing for New Brunswickers in this province so they can exercise their right to safe, secure, and affordable housing?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there was a 10-year plan on housing here in the province of New Brunswick, which was going to create 1,200 new units in that 10 years. And the first 3 years, it was 151 units. Mr. Speaker, this province is on track and will meet that 151 units. But what the member across the way forgets to mention, and probably purposely forgets to mention because it's a good news story, is the $119 million that we're putting into affordable housing here in the province of New Brunswick. Mr. Speaker, but what he also forgets that we're putting $5 million into homelessness, and we've since 2019 we've taken nearly 800 people off the streets at risk. Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite he forgets to mention is that the Canada Housing Benefit, which is a cooperation between the provincial and federal government, has helped almost 1,000 people put money directly in their province, in their pockets, to help them with affordable housing. Mr. Speaker, that's 1,000 people that are directly being helped.
The member for Fredericton Grand